Hey everybody, it's Gil here with the Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, and welcome back to part 2 of our 2-part series on refurbishing a dock power pedestal. We picked this thing up to go ahead and get power at our dock, and bought a used one. Paid $150 for this, knowing that I have to replace some parts. So if you didn't see the first episode, I'll put a link to it, one of those little cards that kind of sits up here if you're watching on your mobile device, or a link down below. And let's jump into this. I have a couple of things that are on the agenda today. I'll show you the things I picked up at the store, and I think what I plan on doing today. But what I plan on doing is always dependent on how what I do goes, so we shall see. So if you recall, last week where we left off was I was testing out all of the components in the breaker section up here, and I ended kind of thinking I might have a problem with a couple of the 50 amp breakers, or at least one of them. So here's what I picked up today. A couple of double pole 50 amp breakers, so we've got those. Also picked up 2 outdoor rated GFCI outlets, and those are going to be specifically for these outlets right here. One seemed to be just fine. The other one actually felt like the reset button was a little bit seized up. One of the challenges I have with this is this whole piece, this front facing, is actually a piece of plastic. I would like to remove that plastic, and if I could remove this base right here, I should be able to slide the plastic all the way up and out, like I did the lenses that sat right here. The challenge I'm having is I already broke one of the screws that hold this base to the frame. I don't want to risk doing that with another one. All week I've been coming out here every day and spraying a little bit of this PV blaster on those nuts, hoping that it would free them up a little bit. I gave a slight twist today, and it felt very similar to the one I broke, so I think I'm just going to leave those alone. I'm going to sand these faces instead, and I'm going to go ahead and repaint them. For the outlet area, you'll notice that I can't actually get to the screws here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small hole in this plastic, hopefully just enough to be able to pull the screws out of that outlet and work it out of there, wire in the new one, work the new one back in, and then I also bought these outdoor weatherproof covers that will go over it to keep it waterproof. I picked up a couple of small pieces of tubed conduit, and the purpose of this is really just to, when I pour the concrete for this thing's going to mount on, this will be underneath the concrete. It's where we'll run the power up under the slab and into this box. And the last thing I got was some Rust-Oleum Universal Satin White finish, and that's what I want to do the whole thing in. So there's my rough agenda. Let's get this thing flipped over. I'm going to start by trying to get these outlets in first, and then we'll go ahead and put the breakers in, so I think they'll actually be easier. All right, so I've drilled a few holes around this. You know, if you think about the way an outlet's shaped, it's sort of like this, right? Let me get something behind this so you can see it. You can see here how it's got this piece that comes up with the tabs that stick out the sides. So I've essentially cut a shape similar to that in the plastic, leaving plenty of room for there to still be a gasket around it, as well as the screws that hold it in. So just about have this out of here. See if we can pop this up. Now I'm hoping I can pull this out and slide it out of there. We'll see. Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a small Dremel with a cutoff wheel to cut this little plastic piece out. Hopefully that'll be a little easier than the drilling method I used before. Let's see. So without a doubt, the Dremel made that really easy. Let me kind of zoom in. I'll show you what this looks like while I remove that out of there. Now I'm just taking out these bolts here. And I'm going to save these because I'll probably use them to put the new outlet back in there. Alright, that's out. There's a very tight fit coming out of here, just because it's hitting up against all the wires. So I will pry it and not worry about breaking this outlet. So we have the outlet out, and now I'm just going to go ahead and put the new one right in its place. So So it's important we make sure we know where each wire goes. This side is the hot wire, so I'm going to put my black wire to this side, white to that side. That's really important. So let's go ahead and do just that. All right. All right, both of those are in. That feels good. So to replace this breaker, what we're going to do is basically just pop this guy out. I'm going to pop the new one in. I know that sounds easier said than done. Alright, so with this out, I'm just going to go ahead and remove each of these wires. These wires here, they are big. I'm going to get one started at a time. I think it might be a little easier. Now with the wire that has a little bit more room, it should be easier to get this one lined up. Yeah, much easier. Thing here, I'm just going to get this snug, and I'm going to get myself a good position on it to really crank it down tight. Now, we're going to get this wire tucked back under here where it was. Make sure that's not tangled up. Whew. And they're good and tight. Yeah, that's exactly what we needed to see there. Yep, the other one was bad. With all the electrical components put in, it was now time to go ahead and sand and prep the surface for painting. I'm really just trying to smooth down any of the old chipped paint or paint that was rough, because it looks like they've painted this with a brush for many, many years. With the unit all prepped for paint, it was now time to create a base that would allow me to mount the actual anchor bolts down in the concrete in the exact location where I need them sticking up so that I can bolt this down to the slab that I'm going to pour. So I went ahead and laid out the shape that I wanted to cut the grass away and begin to dig this small foundation, if you will. I used a spade cutter to cut the grass and then pulled up chunks of it in the shape that I wanted. You'll notice I did sweeping curves. I figured it would be easier for mowing the grass and whatnot. And I didn't want to put the pedestal right along the edge of the seawall in the event we ever have to do maintenance on the seawall or it needs to be repaired. I certainly wanted to be sure that I didn't have to re-pour the foundation if they ever have to do that. So yeah, this worked out pretty well. I got the area prepped and we'll pour the concrete slab and form it up as well. I then created a small form and mixed up 2 bags of concrete, poured that in there and screeded the top smooth. I then went ahead and used that piece of wood to push in anchor bolts, and the anchor bolts are going out the bottom of that piece of wood, holding them just in the right place. You'll also notice the conduit on the left as well as the water pipe on the right for the water spigots. Okay, with the footing cleaned, I've come back in and I finished sanding it. I did that off camera, no sense in you seeing that. But you can see here we got some silver lines where I just got this all smooth. Even this looks a little rough. You can tell that they painted over this clear plastic. So I just got it smooth here so the paint will sit on here real nice. And now all I'm doing is taping up the edges here where I don't want the paint to go. That's essentially it. So, alright, so we have this whole thing taped up. I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. I did the same to the other side. I'm going to get it set up here. You can see I used a couple of light stands and hung a piece of plastic right here, and that's essentially going to be my my backdrop to be sure I don't get paint on anything else in here. And I'm just going to be using a satin white Krylon spray paint, Rust-Oleum, sorry. Yeah, we'll see how well this stuff goes on. I definitely wanted the flat white. I didn't want something real glossy. They had a kind of cool one. It was a metal look. And I thought that would look pretty good, but I just wasn't sure how well it would do in these grooves and whatnot. So for that reason, I opted to go with the flat white. So let's see, a spray painter, I am not. So we'll see how this works. So I guess with that, here goes nothing. Let's give this a shot. Very weird sort of can. It's not the press type. This should be more comfortable, I think. All right, feels pretty good. All right, I've gone ahead and put coats on this. It looks pretty good. I'll come back and check it later. I'm gonna go wash my hands. I'm gonna go breathe some fresh air. I know I should be wearing a mask. Put it in the comments. I know you'll remind me. I did it quickly. I'm not doing it for a whole lot. I'm not painting a whole house or something with spray paint. So it's been about 3 minutes. I'm out of here. All right, with this guy painted, I'm just gonna come out here and do a dry fit real quick. I think it's gonna be good. I do have one more coat of paint I have to put on it, but this is gonna dry fit it, show you where it's gonna sit in its place. And next step is just waiting on the electrician. All right, little love tap and she's ready to go. And there we go. This is ready to go. I just need to put the lid back on it, but I'm gonna wait until he's here to do the electrical connection. Obviously I can pull all this masking off of here as well. And yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to refurbish a dock pedestal. Everything but the certified electrician to come hook it up.